Welcome to Hardheaded Podcast. It's time to join the conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of Hardheaded, episode number 123. With me as always is Troy, Trussell, and Chet. Chet.
You had to think? Yeah, or like Troy.
Well,
what's
I knew
his last name.
I knew Troy, but I'm looking at you and I'm trying to come up with a name for you and those glasses. But
Hey, back
whatever.
off, man. You know, you don't look. You look at these glasses and you feel defeated
I don't.
because you're thinking, man, if he could see well, there's no way I'm going to get close to him in a shooting competition.
Well, if that's the case, I'll just use my eyes as the excuse of why I couldn't shoot. I mean, like you did. So anyway, today we have what's on Chet's mind. We've got the top three vehicles that we've owned, and Troy's going to finish it out with a good word. So Chet, dare I ask, what is on your mind?
It kind of goes right along lines with our top three. And all of our, I don't know about you guys. Growing up, I wanted to get a car. Like I wanted to have a vehicle. Like that's like a step in the process. And how it was in my household is that wasn't provided for me. I could go buy whatever I wanted whenever I was able. And I was a sophomore in college before I had enough money to go out and buy my own truck. So I did. I was excited about it, saved up money, did all that stuff. And then, there I am starting my sophomore year, replacing alternators in dorm room parking lots, starters, oil changes, you name it.
Without YouTube.
No, it was,
This was pre-internet, Troy.
Right.
the internet existed at the military level.
It wasn't
There was some internet going on. Anyway, but yeah, there wasn't information like that on it that I knew of yet. So it was buying the Chilton
manuals.
Yep. For the vehicles that I owned. And, I'd call my dad and, I need some help. He's like, well, you have the book and yeah, blah, blah, blah. And at one point, we both had the book, so he could tell me what page to go to, and it was very helpful. I find it one of the things that's, I think, changed with generations as well. Like that, I live 2 hours away. I grew up 2 hours away from where I was going to college, and that just wasn't in the cards for my dad to drive 2 hours to
fix your truck,
get my truck up back on the road. And I'm okay with that, totally. But today it seems like that's a lot different. It's like, oh, I need to go I need to go help, I need to go, whatever. Anyway, I learned a lot through fixing all the crap that I had bought over the years. And then, I was like, I don't like vehicle maintenance. And I remember saying out loud at some point, I want to get to a position in my life where I don't have to pay. I could pay somebody to do all this work. I don't want to do it on my own. Like that was probably the highest stat. It's like, hey, I want to be able to go out and eat whenever I want, or I want to live in the house that I want to live in. And then if I could ever be wealthy enough, I want to be wealthy enough to be able to pay people to fix my cars. Well, then, I guess I'm there, but at the same time, I'm not giving people money to do stuff that I could do myself to a certain extent, or I'm not going to give a dealership $500 for something that would cost me 2 hours and 90 cents in a thermal resistor, solder job. And you get married, you have 2 cars, and there's twice as much stuff to do. Well, now I have graduated into 4 vehicles. I now have a fleet, and I'm sick of it. I'm tired of working on cars, but I'm still not going to pay for all this stuff. And I don't mind doing stuff that I know how to do. Like oil changes are fine, brake pads, rotors, the simple stuff. Replace a starter, not a big deal. Spark plugs, not a big deal. But now I'm running into some issues with my daughter drives a Beetle, and I hate German cars because there's some really dumb stuff with that makes it extremely difficult for anybody that's in it. It just makes it impossible. And then I ran into an issue earlier this week, Easter Sunday, sending my son back to school, noticed a little bit of a noise that's not normal. kind of a scraping sound. And I'm like, well, hopefully that's just a rock in the little guard that protects your rotor, you know? So pull the tire off, get in there. It's not that. There's something that's more substantially wrong, which I don't know what it is, but I have to take it to a mechanic. And apparently, a mechanic is as high demand as a dentist or a doctor today. You want to hear the quotes? Called on Monday. I'm in a desperate situation.
You tell your story and then I'll tell you mine.
Well, what do you think? How many days do you think they're giving?
To get your quote back?
No, just to get it in the shop for them to look at it.
Probably 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 2 weeks was the first one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? That's not working. That's not going to work for me. Like we're going to have to fix that. And so then I call around and I finally got it was 2 days. Get it in and then we'll look at it the next morning if you can get it here that night before. So anyway, at the time of this recording, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know whatever. We need to get it back on the road because it's a pain in the neck. So I am tired of working on vehicles.
I just started.
Working on a vehicle?
Working on a vehicle.
Or paying someone to work on a vehicle?
Working on a vehicle.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to get my 1964 Lincoln Continental running.
Yeah?
So
why isn't it running?
Well, it ran, but then it was blowing white smoke. So I'm trying to figure out why it was blowing white smoke. And there are many different reasons because it did sit for about 20, 25 years before, maybe even longer before I picked it up.
But it fired up.
Yeah, it turns over, and when it ran, it didn't sound bad, you know, it sounded like a running car, but there was some smoke. And so I don't know if that was a product of old fuel, the oil that has been sitting in there, because I just kind of turned it on and just let it, you know, kind of crank over a little bit, see if it would even crank. But you're talking about the German cars and how they're a nightmare. So that 1964 Lincoln, it's a Ford vehicle. Everything on that car, bolt wise, is basically a half an inch. All of them.
Yeah.
And the one that I found that's not so far is the drain plug for the oil, which I have not gotten off yet. And I don't know if you can see.
Oh, it got a little scraped up there, man. But you got in a fight with your car?
Yeah. So that's me underneath trying to get the drain plug off. And then it's at an angle like this. So every time you kind of put a little bit of force to it, it slips off. And
yeah.
I don't have the car on a lift. I just got it, you know, kind of jacked up a little bit. And then the,
you put some jack stands under there to protect yourself.
Thank you, jack stands. Yeah. And but in the storage unit that I have, it was an old restaurant, so it had a concrete floor, but it had walls, and the walls were cinder block walls. And so what they did was they just kind of knocked the cinder block walls over, but it's real rough, and that's just right where that drain plug sits over the top of that rough stuff. And so every time my hand would slip off, it bam, and I'd slam it on the ground, and that's how I got that. But I still haven't gotten it off yet, but so I've been working on that. But you talk about how people that rebuild, you know, do mechanic work and engine work and stuff like that are kind of in high demand. So I found this company that rebuilds those 430s, and the quote to rebuild and put some, you know, new parts in it, pistons and cylinder, you know, replace whatever needs to be replaced. But they call it a stage 2. Because they don't do stage 1 anymore. I got the email on that, and they're like, we haven't done stage 1 in
what is stage 1? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Just varying levels of how much you want your engine to perform.
Like DEF CON.
Yeah. So
well, it's like I want it to be like it was, or I want to soup it up.
Yeah. So stage 1 would basically be just a stock rebuild.
Yeah.
And stage 2, they add some heavier duty parts to it. Guess how much a stage 2 rebuild?
I look smarter when I take my glasses off. I'm more serious.
You look dumb either way.
Okay. How much do they want?
Take a wild guess how much they want. A 1964 7-liter V8.
$4,000 just to rebuild it.
So yeah,
I have no clue.
So their rebuild, which they haven't done in
$12,000
since 2018. Their stage 1 rebuild was $5,500.
Yeah.
Stage 2, which is all they offer now, was $13,500.
I won. I got closest,
and I
didn't go over.
That does not include.
What does he win for us?
taking the
A
engine
new
out,
TV.
I was in the
shipping the
showcase.
engine.
I was in the showcase. I should have won the new car
So you get a Lincoln Continental
There
if you
you
fix
go.
the engine.
and
So
a trip to Vegas.
That is just the cost when it shows up at their door.
Yeah, that's
So
not
that
me shipping it up there.
You're
That's not
paying
me taking
somebody
it
to
out,
take it out, crate it.
ship it up, ship it back, put it back in.
Now, do you want are you wanting to go
No thanks.
a brand new engine, or do you want to go with the original?
Well, I want to keep the original just because I think in the long run, it just adds to the.
Have you looked and see how much one of these cars would cost? Just used car, same car.
Yeah, they're way up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that would be completely redone, but I looked at doing like an LS swap on it.
What car is it again?
64 Lincoln Continental. But yeah, I looked at doing an LS swap in it and then everything that you got to replace, the cost of the motor, everything like that. I mean, it just by the time you're done, I was like, I just want to get this thing running.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll just find a local machine shop or something like that to fix this up and it won't be anywhere near that.
Can you
Yours a convertible?
no.
No.
Can you could find somebody around here that doesn't mind doing that though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I want to try to do it myself first. And you're talking about the manuals. So I had a Blazer as one of my, I don't know, maybe my second or third car, but that was like when I was on my own. And
Yeah.
so I bought the Chilton manual for that and repaired some stuff based off of that, but it was just, some of that stuff was pretty confusing to me.
Yeah.
I've got the original manual that came with that car, not like a manual that
Shows you how to rebuild it.
you
and
went
all
and
that,
bought. Yeah. I mean, it's everything laid out. And I was like, this is so much more simple to read
Yeah.
than that Chilton manual was. I was like, so I ordered another copy of it that's new, so I can put the other one back as
Not
more-
touch it with your greasy, bloody forearm.
Yeah. So
Well, I think the big difference between what you're going through and what I'm going through is
computers.
if you have yours torn apart, you still go to work the next day.
Well, yeah.
Your kids still go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm dealing with get this thing back on the road so I could go back to my normal life. And I know I sound like a wimp for complaining that one of my 4 vehicles, but I've got 2 teenagers, one of them in a different town. They got their own work schedules. My wife has work schedules where she drives for that. I mean, not just to an office, but it's a disaster.
Yeah, it's no like, and you were talking about vehicle issues, and I was like, perfect, because I had one this morning, and so my truck, for whatever reason, what that easy in out. Do you have that on your Ford?
No, where the running boards drop down.
No. Well, if I had dropped down, I don't like those.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I don't have them. But no, so my steering wheel.
Oh, your seat goes down and your steering wheel goes up.
Seat comes back, steering wheel goes up. So,
Yeah.
you can get in and out real easy.
My wife's car has that. I don't like it.
Which for me, I love it because with the prosthetics, the way I drive and the way I have to get in and out are not the same. So I hop in this morning, works as normal. I went to stop by to grab my stuff to be prepared
For recording?
For recording. And
Shocker.
I went to get back in my truck and started, and the seat stayed where it was, and the steering wheel didn't move. And I'm like, so I turned it off, and I was like, that's kind of weird. So I tried to start it, nothing.
Yeah.
I was like,
So you have a memory button. Did you push that?
I pushed that, it didn't work. The button on the steering column so I could lower the steering wheel didn't work. So I drove to work. Here I could get my seat, so I jacked my seat all the way up, and I was like, geez Louise.
Yeah.
And then I got to work and
What'd you
turned it
listen
off.
to? Did you listen to the Chronic all the way?
No, I didn't have any beats.
With the steering
No,
wheel
I was
like
more
that,
I was more mad because I was like, I spent so much money on the Lincoln this weekend.
Yeah.
And I was like, here we go. Now I got this issue. I'm gonna have to go pay to get this fixed because
Yeah.
I don't mess with the computer. I don't do computers.
I mean,
Right.
I've seen a few selling for $38,000. I mean, if you're going to spend that much on a rebuild, just buy a new one.
No, this is a special one. It's been owned by important people.
Charlie Daniels rode in it when he came to town. One owner car. And is it completely redone for 38?
Yeah. I mean, there are auctions though, so
That's
you
pretty
gotta,
sharp.
you got to win it.
That's a good looking car.
Yeah.
Anyway, warranty?
No, I got over 115,000 miles. If I
Did you get online and do some research?
recalls and all that.
No, not just that, but like somebody could be like, oh, if you hold the power button down while you turn your left signal on, it'll reset everything or whatever those things
Fortunately,
are.
I didn't have to. I got to work and turned it off, and then it worked.
Oh.
For whatever reason, like it went back to normal
Yeah.
all of a sudden. So I don't know if there was a glitch in the matrix, because then when I got,
It's going to happen again.
well, it probably will, but it was weird because when I tried to call somebody, I was calling my accountants because, we're coming up on
Tax. The tax man.
and, they're like, hey, we need all your stuff, or do we need to file an extension and blah, blah. And I'm like, hey, I can't really hear you guys too well. And they're like, we can't hear you. You sound like you're in a tunnel. And I was like, that's weird. And the phone just cut off. And I'm like, something going on. And then I get to work and the computers are messing up. It was just a really funny morning for electronics.
Yeah. Maybe you got something going on inside of you.
That, or maybe China.
Yeah, it could
Maybe
be.
China did something and they're messing with my truck because it's still connected to the internet.
You're the least of China's worries right now. The least, I tell you.
Oh man.
So Troy, all I have advice for you is, I know you were raised in a household that got you vehicles as a driver.
Yeah.
Don't carry that on.
I'm not.
Just say, hey, kids, when you're old enough to buy your own car, you have enough money to buy it, you go right ahead. But
That's right.
I'm not going to equip you with all these vehicles.
Well, our plan is kind of the Dave Ramsey philosophy, is like, hey, you can work for your car and we'll pay however much you earn.
Yeah.
To save up for your first car, we'll pay half.
Yeah.
So if they save up $2,000, we'll pitch in $2,000. They can get a car, but they got to have some kind of investment in it.
But with that plan, are you or are you not adopting the maintenance of that vehicle?
Yeah.
See, you got to go ahead and put that in the writing now while your kids are young.
Yeah, we'll
their
sign
expectations
a contract.
are set. Yeah,
we'll sign a contract.
Yeah, the thing you do, it's for you on the oil changes. It's for and if you get this little rattle thing going on, like gosh,
man, yeah,
I'm telling you,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I could tell Easter when that rattle started happening. It started rattling you.
It did, a little bit. Stuff.
So anyway, if you ever want to just kind of get away and just have fun maintenance on a car, come on over.
Yeah, I will be able to break that your plug off, and get that oil out of there.
So I stole, not really, a pylon for a prosthetic leg to use as kind of a cheater bar.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever seen one of those rotisseries for a vehicle?
Like to start it?
No, it's like a rotisserie. So,
Well, I've seen it when they're straightening frames that they put that in. Yeah.
friend of mine is rebuilding a 1967 Ford Mustang,
Yeah.
and he's got just all the guts are out of it. It's just the
frame?
shell, right?
Yeah.
The frame. And he borrowed it actually from another friend of mine who owns ICS Collision, and they restore vehicles and stuff. And he borrowed a rotisserie for him.
A frame straightener?
He calls it a rotisserie because you literally
Has it got some chickens on it?
You can literally
from Sam's
It's
Club?
like a chicken. It's like the frame of a car is in a chicken rotisserie, and you can just spin it. It's pretty sweet.
Okay.
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I think it's just for the frame. I don't know that you put the whole car on that.
No, he wouldn't put I don't think you can hold it.
There's a Saturday Night Live skit where they're making fun of who's the Lamello, Limoncello. What are the there's this, I'm talking about, the baller guy. He's their dad.
Yeah, I don't
Anyway, he calls it rotisserie chicken in the Saturday Night Live skits. Anytime anybody says rotisserie, I say it's a rotisserie.
Rotisserie.
I got that from my brother-in-law, Joel. He sent that to me.
Good stuff.
It's hilarious. So that's what's been on my mind. I'm tired of owning vehicles.
I feel you.
And I also don't like paying for vehicles. Which
Well,
is
if it
one of the
makes you
reasons
feel
why
any
my
better, you
vehicles
don't
need work.
Speaking of tax season, if it makes you feel any better, you don't actually own the vehicle. You rent it from the government. So
From Kansas, because you have to pay taxes on it every year.
Or they'll repo it.
Don't even get me started on that. That's a different what's on my mind.
Yeah. All right.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, top 3 vehicles that we've owned.
Yay! Are you driving traffic to your website? Do you have an engaging homepage? Better yet, does your homepage have a video? We recently created a video for a client about his business and the services they provide. Since he placed the video on the homepage of their website, he has had a number of clients specifically say they decided to use his services because of that video. At Trussell Media, we help businesses create engaging videos to host on their websites, email to clients, and use in their social media marketing. Contact us if you're interested in creating a video for your homepage today. TrussellMedia.com. Fill out the form at TrussellMedia.com/contact. Let us help you tell your story through video.
All right, we're back with our top 3 vehicles that we've owned. Troy, start it off.
Number 3, we called it the Tank. It was a 1984 Oldsmobile Delta 88 4-door. I had 11 people in this car at one time.
That's a lot.
So my grandfather bought it brand new, and then he passed it on to his wife at one point, and then my mom drove it, then my sister drove it, and then I got it. Heck, my dad might even.
What color was
it? For green.
Green.
Mean green. The Tank, we had a bunch of names for it, but it took a licking, kept on ticking. I backed into a pole one time and dented in the back bumper.
Yeah.
I just went back there and popped it right back out. Kept on going.
So what, you probably don't know, but what is the difference between an Olds, what year was that?
84.
84. So what's the difference between that and the Cutlass Sierra?
The Cutlass was 2-door.
Yeah, Cutlass was a coupe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the
of them?
I'm pretty sure all the Cutlasses were 2-door. And the Delta 88, those were the 4-door.
Well, because there was one that came up on Craigslist because we're looking for our oldest daughter, and it had 75,000 original miles, and it had that old, almost kind of the Brome. You remember the Brome editions? But they had the really plush seats, really nice. I mean, it was like you're sitting on a couch in your living room, you know. And they only wanted like $4,000 for it. And I was out of town, and I sent the picture to my wife. And by the time she goes, yeah, that looks like that's in the price range and it's a good deal. It was already gone. So.
Yeah, buddy, that's it. So I was driving.
I have some 2-door Delta 88s. I don't know if they're all listed as Cutlasses.
I'm not kidding when I tell you this. When I finally got it, I watched the mileage ticker go over 1 million. It was 999, 999, and back then it was just the little dials, you know. They clicked over to 1 million.
Are you sure?
It probably clicked over to 100,000, but
yeah, it's probably 100,000.
I'm not.
1 million's a lot.
It was 1 million.
No way.
Unless I dreamed it, but it's very vivid in my mind.
When did you get it?
93 or 94.
So in 10 years, they drove that 100,000 miles every year?
I guess.
No.
there's no way.
No.
I drive a lot. A lot.
Maybe he didn't get it new. Maybe it's already.
No, it wasn't a 100,000 mile counter. You see what I'm saying?
Counter might have been different.
Yeah, the counter had one less digit, so you re-rolled over 100,000 miles.
Maybe.
So it may have had 200, 300,000 miles.
Line up like 10,000 miles a year is normal. So it wasn't 1 million miles.
Nice try, Troy. You're not getting
good.
that sponsorship from Oldsmobile.
Because I also know GM doesn't make anything good enough to go 1 million miles. So
that's
we'll
true.
add to that.
All right.
But you were in it when it rolled over. When it zeroed out.
When it zeroed out and rolled over, whatever it was. It was pretty cool because we watched it.
Did you you took your phone out and videoed it while it was happening, put it on YouTube?
Didn't have phone back then. Lived in much simpler times back then. Number 2 is Isuzu truck. Had a little 2-door, 3-seater, but two-seater.
Was it white?
White, yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing that truck.
Yep. Got some stories behind that bad boy. And then number 1, a 1998 Mitsubishi Eclipse. I got this car, so I really wanted a Dodge Ram, right? And my dad, my senior year of high school, or I don't know when we made the bet, but my dad and I made a bet. He was like, if you can get straight A's, sure, I'll buy you a brand new car, whatever you want.
Dude, he knew. He had the high ground.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
But I said, okay, any year of my high school career. And like I said, I don't remember when we made the bet, but he's like, yes, if you make straight A's, I will buy you a brand new car.
Yeah.
It's like, give me 1B. He was like, all right, you got it. So my senior year, one semester, I can't remember which one, I got all A's and 1B.
It wasn't for the whole year? He just went one semester? He still had the high ground.
Yeah, that whole year,
Yeah.
I think it was that whole year.
Did you tell your teachers, hey, I got a car riding on this?
No. I wasn't friends much
Yeah.
with my teachers. But the 1B I made was in advanced math, and that was the hardest class I've probably ever taken.
Yeah.
Other than physics. Physics was really hard.
And then you're like, I'm getting a Dodge, and he didn't do it?
Yeah, well, when he knew I was getting close, there were some amendments made to, to the bet. So I was able to get a car of my choice, and that's what I chose. So
Yeah.
Dodge Ram was a little too high.
Ask him what happened to that Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Yeah. It
Yep.
got...
Burned up.
No. So like 5 years later, about 5 or 6 years later, a tree like fell on it and centered it.
Like tacoed that thing.
Yeah, when they took the tree off of it, it looked like a hot dog bun.
Yeah.
Or taco shell. Yeah. And yeah. But luckily nobody was hurt in that storm. That tree could have fallen on our house and killed us all because it was right there.
Yeah.
But yeah. Wild stuff.
All right, Matt, what are your top 3?
Number 3, 1983 F100. That was my very first drivable vehicle. I drove that to school, football games, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. Just no, 2 doors, no crew cab, nothing like that. Just
Bench seat across front.
bench seat across the front.
Big old
Yeah.
drop it in gear.
Yep. Had some bigger tires, like mud tires on it that, that came with it for, whatever reason. And my dad didn't drive a whole lot because it was a hand-me-down.
Yeah.
And that was a fun truck.
What color was it?
Brown and tan.
Yeah. Like with the metal, that trim piece that separated the colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
No,
exactly
well,
what
yeah. So metal,
with the
tan,
dark
dark
tan in
brown
the
up
middle.
top,
Oh, okay, yeah,
2-tone.
yeah.
It was a good looking truck. And my dad always had, was having problems with it and stuff like that. And I ended up having some problems with it. And, it ended up, I still had it and it ended up in an alley. And then the city eventually just towed it away because it was in the alley for so long.
Thank you, city, for removing that problem.
Yeah. I didn't have to pay to have it hauled off. Number 2, 2019 F350, the truck that I have now. It's by far the favorite truck that I've ever owned. I had a 2016 F350. I don't know. This one is just, it's got everything I want. Some stuff that I don't really necessarily want, like the sunroof and stuff like that. I don't really want all that, but don't ever use it. But that thing pulls. The engine's great. Have had relatively no issues with it until today with the thing, but then it fixed itself. So I don't know if it's just a glitch in the matrix of that thing or what, but it's been a good truck. And then number 1, we've already talked about it, 1964 Lincoln Continental. That was my dream car. Always wanted one for some reason. I wasn't really into the hot rods and racing and stuff like that. I like cruising and luxury, and
All right.
That was
all right.
It's like you're riding on a cloud.
it. Really is, and that thing is so stinking comfortable. A lot of room, and they for 1964. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The power seats, power windows, power locks. Well, not necessarily power locks; they're vacuum controlled, but
Yeah.
I mean, cruise control on a 1964, and it's a little dial that has 55, 65, 70, and you dial it, and then you set it, and it's crazy. What just how advanced it was for 64. And if you've seen any of those, which mine's not a convertible, but if you've seen the gears and everything that they had to make that convertible top be automatic, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And this has suicide doors, right? The back doors.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So eventually, once I get it restored, my goal was to get that thing restored for prom for Lily's senior year. So I've got a year to get it at least rolling.
Yeah. So you're from like right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she's
on it.
Junior prom's coming up, so that's why I'm getting on it. That's why I got all the. She doesn't appreciate all that right now, but
Hey,
maybe she
sea
will.
foam, man. Put some sea foam in there.
I actually, based on your recommendation, I did buy that.
Yeah.
And once I get it running, I'm going to do that treatment just to see if it'll bring those rings and all that kind of stuff back to life a little bit and let me run it before.
It'll blow some smoke when you put it in.
It's already blowing smoke, so.
Oh, it'll do even worse than that.
Oh, no, it's blowing smoke.
I'm just telling you, it's good.
I'm telling you, it's blowing smoke.
Okay. All right, number
That's
3, a 2004 Ford F-150. Had the 5.4 liter Triton extended cab in blue jean, and I bought that one. I don't recommend for people to buy brand new vehicles right off the lot, but at the time I worked for a company that got a pretty steep discount off of Ford. Well, most all vehicles. We supplied all the major manufacturers, so I got a pretty sweet deal on that ride. Had the long bed, which was nice. I haven't had a long bed since then, but we didn't have a garage or anything, just a carport, so it didn't matter how long it was; it would fit. Good truck. My first new vehicle, and so one of those where I was the only one that put miles on it. Pretty sweet deal. Number 2, a 1989 Mazda B2200 extended cab. Had a custom gray paint job, really dark tinted windows, custom wheels. It was pretty sweet. I traded for it. I was driving a Nissan at the time, and that's the first truck I bought. And then my dad was really, had a Jones for the Nissan, and I really liked the Mazda that he was driving, and we just decided one day to just even swap that.
Do the old switcheroo.
Did the swap. So, but that was the one I drove back and forth to college. Basically, is that Mazda, and really enjoyed it. It was a good truck. Spent a lot of time with it. The worst time I ever had with that, it was the alternator that I was replacing in a dorm room parking lot without a jack. It was a disaster, and I could get halfway under there, and I was doing work like behind my head, and I pulled the old one out, took it up to AutoZone, traded it in for the core, got a new one, went back, and I'm trying to thread it through, and it's so much where you just can't even pick up your arms anymore, and I just couldn't get the third bolt to bite. Just couldn't do it, getting frustrated. You all know that you should just go to bed because you're so mad, nothing works, and I was so mad, and I never could get that third bolt to bite. And finally, I took that thing and looked at it, and I'm like, well, this one has threads, this one has threads, and this one has no threads. And then I was like, well, should the bolt just pass? So I took it back up to AutoZone, and I told them to bring the core back out. And sure enough, they didn't thread that hole from the factory. So they went back, found another one, and brought it out, and it had threads in it. So I was able to go back in here and went in right away. But I had spent like 2 hours like just trying to get it, all the frustration.
Mm-hmm.
I remember doing that. I've done one alternator change, and that was on a, I can't even remember what year it was. It might have been a 2004, 2005 Ford Contour. And that was a pretty slick vehicle too, but because it was 5-speed, fun to drive. But I did the alternator on that. That was the first time because I was in college and I was on my own. I was like, like trial by fire. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it looks pretty simple to me. So
yeah, it's unplug this thing and there's some bolts there. Yeah.
And then, getting the belt back on just right and everything. But yeah, it was kind of fun. That was my major accomplishment when I was in college on car repair, was that alternator. I was like, man, I'm like a mechanic now, you know. I wasn't. I'm still not.
We'll leave the grease in under my fingernails so everybody knows I've been doing man's work.
I still got some. Look, right there.
Good for you. All right, my number one, 2013 Ford F-150. You got the 5-liter V8 4x4 quad cab. Love it. That's the truck my son's driving right now. That's the truck that's giving me all the pain in the neck right now with the noise coming out of the back end. But that's another one, you know, through my sweet deal that I used to have. Got that one brand new in 2013 and put every mile on that. We're up to 170, I think, 170,000 miles on it now.
Good night.
But yeah, you just get in that thing and it, you know, feels like home.
Mine's a 2019, and I've got 115,000 miles on it already.
Yeah, you drive a lot, man. Well, we rode that. We burned up to Montana and back.
Probably gonna cross 1 million soon.
Yeah,
It's getting ready to roll over again.
just keep watching that dial and see what happens. But so honorable mention would be the 2018 that I'm driving right now.
Jury's still out.
No, I'm a fan, but it was like when I got in that truck to work on it. You know, it just feels different. I've been in that seat a long time, so like, oh, it's got a special place right now, and hopefully my 2018 will get to that point. It will a lot quicker if this.
We'll revisit
how much this breakdown cost me.
We'll revisit in 2028 and just see if it's everything that you thought it would be.
If it lasts 10 years from now, we will see.
And you're giving it to one of your grandkids.
No, I'm not giving grandkids vehicles. Not gonna do it.
All right. Good top three. Troy, what do you got?
Yeah, so just been reflecting. So this is the good word right here. Resurrection. So since it was just Easter, Resurrection Sunday, we had a good day. So our pastor preached out of 1 Corinthians 15 when Paul is making his point or argument that Christ did resurrect. And in Corinthians, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's turmoil. There's, believers having doubts, all kinds of things going on. And he's talking to believers when he wrote this letter to them. And just over the week, been reflecting on some things that our pastor touched on that I know I've thought about before, just was put in a different light. So it was good to hear and good to think about. One of them being that as he's writing this letter, Paul is bringing up different people's names. So he's talking about Cephas. He's talking about the 500 people that Christ showed himself to after he rose from the dead. And basically, the reason Paul is naming these people is this was 2 years after the resurrection. And so he's saying, hey, if you don't believe me, you can go ask these people if what I'm saying is true, and if ask their account. They saw him too, so you can go talk to them about Jesus and if he really did become alive.
Yeah, because the Sanhedrin at the time was trying to discredit Christ's resurrection, saying his body was stolen, whatever else, and he's like enlisting people that were alive and saw him. Hey, go talk to them. They were there. They're witnesses.
Yeah. If you don't believe me, go ask more people. Yeah. So, and then the next thing that he touched on was the pity that believers today we should have pity on, or other people should have pity on us if Christ did not resurrect from the dead. He talks about, we are even found to be misrepresenting God because we testified about God that he raised Christ, whom he did not raise, if it is true that the dead are not raised. So if the dead are not raised, then we're doing all this work on earth, believing that he was raised and not really having the best life that we could. Being persecuted, because back then believers were still being persecuted and everything. And they should be pitied. If they believe this and it really didn't happen, they should be pitied. But then he goes on and says in verse 20, but in fact, Christ has been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. For as by a man came death, by a man has come also the resurrection of the dead. So as in Adam, all of us will die, and so also in Christ, all of us will be made alive. And so that's good word. That's good news. That is our hope. The whole Christian faith is based on the resurrection of Jesus Christ, because if he did not resurrect himself from the dead as God, then we're not resurrecting ourselves. So there's no hope if he didn't resurrect himself.
He conquered death through his resurrection.
Right. So I've just been reflecting on that, and yeah, the hope that we have in Christ is that he raised himself from the dead. If we believe that happened, then we will be raised again with him. So
the question about the resurrection and people that have doubts, about the resurrection or whatever, I would pose this. Peter and Paul were both beheaded. Andrew is said to have been crucified.
Peter was hung upside down, crucified.
Peter was hung upside down.
Not beheaded. Paul was beheaded, though. Yeah.
Philip was put to death. Matthew was stabbed in Ethiopia. And then there was one of them, I can't remember who was dragged by horse, and then there was another person who
was stoned.
Yeah, and beheaded, and then the soldier that led him up was so convicted by his words that he was beheaded as well as a Christian next to him. I can't remember which one that was, but at any point in time, they were all given basically a chance to renounce their faith. So that tells me they saw.
If they were part of some hoax,
it would have been
they wouldn't have
taken it all
the way. Yeah.
Because they had every opportunity to. And I'm sure they had some doubts on day 2 after the crucifixion. I'm sure there's, oh man.
Well, doubting Thomas said, show me your scars.
He didn't believe it when he saw him.
Well, he did. He finally
show me
believed
your, yeah. But to me, I mean, that's just
proof enough. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
in addition to the hundreds of people that Jesus showed up and visited after he was resurrected.
Right. I mean, so
to which Paul's saying, if you don't believe me, go talk to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I heard some other interesting things in a sermon about just the way the linens were folded in the tomb. So if his followers would have gone in there and stolen the body to say he was resurrected, they would have left him wrapped up. They wouldn't have, unwrapped him and
carried a naked corpse around.
Right. And then if other, soldiers or whatever would have taken him, they probably would have just left the garments there without having neatly folded them. Yeah. And if for some reason Jesus didn't really die, he would have had to rip himself out of the linens, if he could have gone through all of that. So,
and that's another. That is a theory, right? He was just he passed out.
That's a
and
horrible.
Then he came to.
Ridiculous theory.
The Romans were pretty good at killing people.
Yeah,
they had that down.
They were pros.
Yeah,
by that time. Yeah,
absolutely. Anyway, so yeah, good word, resurrection.
All right. Appreciate you joining us. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to share this podcast with others to help us get the word out.
Also, if you haven't yet, please rate and review the show. This helps our podcast show up in other people's suggested shows that may or may not have listened to us before.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.